Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. This week, Hurricane Helene devastated central Appalachia and disrupted the lives of people in recovery.
Lost his car. He was in jail multiple times since the storm. I don't even know where he's at right now or what he's doing because he's fallen off so bad, not going to appointments and things like that.
In West Virginia, fur trapping continues, even in the 21st century.
Beaver trapping is one of the easiest forms of trapping that there is if you have a boat and if you're a little bit touched.
And baseball is America's pastime. One league is making the game more inclusive.
We try to make it like a major league experience for them. They've got their picture on the big board. We give them their own walk-up music they get to choose. We get to announce them like they are the stars of the show.
You'll hear these stories and more this week inside Appalachia.
Support for Inside Appalachia is provided by Festival Charleston, May 22nd through the 31st, offering hands-on workshops in the art of indigo dyeing, ukulele, songwriting, and much more. Full schedule at festivalcharleston.com.
Welcome inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams. It's been a year and a half since Hurricane Helene ravaged central Appalachia, especially western North Carolina. The storm upended communities, including support for people living with addiction and behavioral health issues. Blue Ridge Public Radio's Katie Myers has been exploring how people are still recovering.
Brandy Hayes works with the Buncombe County Post-Overdose Response Team, or PORT. She and a crew of paramedics check in on people who've overdosed recently to help connect them to healthcare. Part of her job is checking on patients in Helene-impacted neighborhoods in Swannanoa, Black Mountain, and Asheville. As Hayes drives to an appointment, she remembers one patient who was doing well before Helene. He'd gotten on medication to treat his substance use, went to appointments, and was putting his life back together after many difficult years. Then the storm came.
And then he ended up having to return to use, also feeling like he had to take care of someone else that wasn't in the sober mind state that he was in.
It's easy to backslide, Hayes says, who's lived through her own struggles. She says all it takes is a destabilizing event, like loss of a job or a home.
Lost his car. He was in jail multiple times since the storm. I don't even know where he's at right now or what he's doing because he's fallen off so bad, not going to appointments and things like that.
Not everybody who's in recovery falls off. Many have navigated hard times by relying on family and friends. That's what Devin did. Devin asked BPR to use first name only because of his involvement with Narcotics Anonymous. He had been in recovery from opioid use since he moved his family to Asheville in 2019. The past year and a half have been some of the hardest times of his life. Helene sent 20 trees crashing onto his house and property. They had to sell. The stress destroyed his marriage.
We got divorced. That house, I lost my house that I poured my heart and soul into. I lost all my money.
But he says being able to call on people in his recovery community has been the saving grace.
I talked to 3 different people about this, and they're like, call this person. And that's how it is. I just talk to all of them and get their opinions, and I rely on them,
He's built other routines back too. He's back in therapy, going to meetings regularly. Because he's disabled and can't work, he does a lot of daycare for his daughter. Ballet, kickboxing, snowboarding. He takes her to everything.
I try to focus on my daughter. For the most part, I feel like I'm happy. I'm just doing the best I can, so.
Life may not look the way it once did, but he's making it. But Devin is just one of many for whom everything has changed. And not everybody has a strong community to call on. The community has been fragmented. As harm reduction worker John Kennedy drives down the main road in Swannanoa, he notes that very little has been rebuilt, and that makes his work harder.
Music venues which we've worked with and distributed naloxone to are closed or not booking bands.
That's just an example of the kind of social infrastructure people rely on to stay safe when using drugs.
It disrupted everything from kind of top to bottom from friendships, from bands, from practice spaces, all these places that can be used in terms of harm reduction.
He still distributes supplies to venues in Asheville, and he's seen people come together in amazing ways. But he still worries that communities are fracturing as storm recovery drags on. And for those who were already extra vulnerable, he hopes that they can make it through. I'm Katie Myers, BPR News.
As the Trump administration cuts federal science funding, people in research hubs like Pittsburgh are wondering how or if that shift might reshape their communities. WESA's Glennis Board spoke with one researcher and his family about their recent decision to move to China.
We're not leaving because we hate America. Yeah. I think there's like this idea that we're taking our ball and going home, and that's not true. We have been looking for jobs in Pittsburgh and around Pittsburgh specifically for literally years, and it just hasn't happened.
That's Natalie Walsman. She and her husband Jason and their 2 young kids have been living in Pittsburgh for several years. Jason researches wildlife pathogens, but his funding from the National Science Foundation was recently cut short. So he found a job in China. They're selling their house in Braddock Hills and moving to the outskirts of Shanghai. I met with Jason and Natalie and their kids at a playground recently on a blustery spring day.
I have in the past had success helping win funding and win grants for that kind of thing, but in the current funding climate for science, it was just didn't feel at all safe to kind of gamble on that, especially when there was a good job waiting for me in China.
Tell me about that process of finding out that your funding wasn't renewed.
In our case, we had a pretty large 5-year grant. A certain officer at the National Science Foundation told us, well, you've made good progress with 4 years of funding and you haven't spent everything yet, so you don't get your 5th year of funding. Not something we would anticipate, that we were making too much progress to get all of our funding. That was really frustrating. And there was a lot of uncertainty about it for months because the communication was unclear, and then the government was shut down and we couldn't talk to the people who made these decisions. But the hardest thing to replace is a person's paycheck. And if someone's paycheck doesn't have some continuity or some certainty of where their paycheck's coming from, they're going to leave science, or they're going to go to another field or go to another job. Lab supplies, travel expenses, interruptions, they are disruptive, but not as much as for the personnel.
Mm-hmm. And so was that a difficult decision for you to think about moving to China?
Well, yeah, you could answer that question.
It's easy to think about moving to China.
Is that right? Are you excited?
Yes.
What makes you excited about moving to China?
There will be lots of bubble tea and horseback riding.
Natalie, what has this experience been like for you?
I have been high school and middle school, depending on the year, science teacher for 6 years. And then I was let go very suddenly last summer. And at the time I was like, oh no, is this a sign? Are we slowly getting, pushed out of Pittsburgh? And I think the answer is yes. But it really sucks, honestly. Pittsburgh has been really good to us. Mm-hmm. We love the land and the terrain and the crazy road. Well, I love the crazy roads. We really love the people. People here are so friendly without being fake.
I feel a little sad about selling our house.
Do you? Why is that?
Because I've lived in this house longer than I've lived in any of my houses, and this time I'm really disappointed about leaving it.
What about school? Are you nervous about school?
Yes, because I'm going to have to wear uniforms, and I like to be unique. And it doesn't make sense that I'm going to wear a tie.
The kids will be going to a Canadian international school that's walking distance from our apartment. The apartment is on campus, so I'm going to be able to walk to work. The university pays for us to live in that apartment. They pay for the kids to go to school. They pay for us to fly back to the States and visit family every year. They pay relocation expenses and relocation expenses back if we're there for at least 5 years.
And you mentioned China's investing in science. Tell me more about your thoughts on that.
They're increasing science funding by some billions of dollars over these years, which is kind of the opposite of what we're doing here in the U.S. It's nice that other people are going to be doing science too, especially the kind of science that I do that is focused on, infectious diseases of animal populations. It doesn't accrue strategic advantages to just one country, really. It kind of helps all countries. So it's nice to see China and other countries investing in that kind of thing.
Are you going to grow up and be a scientist as well, like your parents?
I think that when I grow up, I'm going to be someone who breaks bad laws or protects the sea. I wish there would be a law that rich people are not better than poor people.
I'm really excited for them to grow up in a place where they look different from the majority of people around them, and where they will be speaking 2 different languages. That's just really great for brain development. I'm excited for them to not have to do lockdown drills at school. That's not a thing in China. And I'm excited for them to be part of a church with like 40 different nationalities represented. That's going to be a really lovely thing for them to draw on for the rest of their lives.
That was from WESA's Glennis Board. Coming up, a slew of stories from our Folkways reporters about fly fishing, fur trapping, and maple syrup making. Stick around. You're inside Appalachia. I'm Mason Adams.
Support for Inside Appalachia is provided by the Charleston, West Virginia Convention and Visitors Bureau. Spend your summer in Charleston, where scenic trails and on-the-water adventure meet vibrant arts, culture, and local flavor in the capital city. Begin your adventure at charlestonwv.com.
Most of the time, athletes welcome technical innovations in sports equipment. Gone are the days when folks ran marathons in Converse sneakers. And you don't hear basketball players pining for short shorts. But some fly fishermen still prefer to do things the old-fashioned way. In 2023, Folkways reporter Zach Harold took us to the Elk River to meet Lee Orr of the 304 Rod Company.
When Lee Orr goes fly fishing, he doesn't haul his rod in one of those racks on the front bumper of his pickup. He doesn't wedge it into the back seat, and he sure doesn't throw it in the bed to rattle around with his tackle box and cooler. Lee keeps his fishing rods in a hard plastic case. And inside of that case, the pole is shrouded in a hand-sewn linen pouch. You understand why once he takes it out.
This one is, of course, I probably didn't put a date on it. I just put a number. This is the 13th one, 11th one. So that's probably, I don't know, 17 years old or somewhere around in there.
The 2 sections are made of a honey-colored wood, bamboo, actually, and come together inside a delicate brass fitting. Both sections are accented with bands of red silk thread, which, besides looking good, hold down the handmade line guides. The bottom of the rod, where the reel attaches, is made from dark walnut. The handle is crafted from cork. This isn't just a fishing pole. It's a work of art. And it even has the artist's signature right there on the shaft, written in black ink. Lee put it there himself, because he made this rod, and 133 others like it. And all it took was some hand tools and a whole lot of time. Lee discovered fly fishing as a kid. He grew up in West Virginia but spent each August in Montana, where his dad grew up.
A couple guys came up this little creek, I think it's Little Bear Creek or something. It's up near the Wyoming border, or might actually be in Wyoming. And they just were catching fish one after the other. So I told my dad, it's like, I want to learn how to fly fish.
He didn't take to bamboo fly rods quite as quickly. He tried a few of them, but found them heavy and unwieldy. But his opinion changed at a workshop he attended.
And somebody had a little 7-foot Orvis bamboo rod, and I cast that, and I really liked it. And did some research and was shocked to find that you can build these things in your basement.
So 20 years ago, that's exactly what he started doing. The process starts halfway around the world, in the Gulf of Tonkin. This region on the border of Vietnam and China is home to a variety of bamboo that's coveted by fishing rod makers. The walls of Tonkin cane are thick, and its fibers are both strong and flexible. These culms of bamboo are cut down and loaded into shipping containers, headed for the United States, eventually finding their way to basement workshops like the one Lee keeps in his Charleston, West Virginia home. To turn bamboo into a bamboo fly rod, you start with a dull knife. Lee taps it into one end of the cane with a hammer.
You actually take a knife and twist and break it apart, and then you break it down into 6 individual strips, and then you have to work it and straighten it, get the little bumps and hooves out of it.
Once he's broken the bamboo into strips, they go into his planing form. This is a 4-foot hunk of steel with a groove running down the middle, which holds the strips at a precise 60-degree angle. Lee places a strip in that groove and goes to work with a hand plane. He makes pass after pass using smaller and smaller wood planes to shave off thin ribbons of bamboo. He keeps going until the top of the strip is flush with the top of the form. Then he repeats the process 5 more times. 3 strips for the tip section of the rod and 3 for the butt section.
Then you wind up with 6 60-degree strips tapered that you then roll back up together and glue together.
Lee also makes metal loops for the rod's line guides, which he ties on with silk thread. He makes the rod's reel seat by turning wood on a lathe. He stains and finishes the wood and shapes the handle from cork.
There's still a couple pieces that I don't make, but eventually get to the point where I'd like to make it stem to stern, every bit of it myself. I gotta probably retire before I do that and get a little bit more equipment.
At present, it takes Lee somewhere between 60 to 80 hours to complete a rod. He's working on rod number 135 right now, which means he's spent the equivalent of a year of his life sitting at his workbench, planing and wrapping and gluing and shaping. And that's probably a conservative estimate. Some rods take longer than others, and the whole process took a lot longer when he was first starting out in the early 2000s. See, there weren't a whole lot of books on the subject, and certainly no YouTube tutorials. Lee got his introduction to the craft on an email listserv. For those of you who weren't on the internet back then, a listserv was like an email version of a group chat. Anytime Lee would have a question, he'd shoot out a message, and someone would write back.
Just a bunch of old cranky old guys. That's kind of the community, but they're really helpful about passing down information.
But the community wasn't only generous with its knowledge. Remember those planing forms that Lee used to whittle down his bamboo strips? He inherited those from another rod maker who made the forms by filing them down by hand, a job that probably took hundreds of hours. And when Lee was making the tool he uses to twist wire into line guides, another maker stepped in to help.
There was plans online, and I didn't have the things for it, and someone sent me all the stuff from it, all the brass hex rod and these set screws and just said, hey, well, next time somebody else needs something, you just kind of pay it forward kind of thing. So, and I've done that.
Lee has paid it forward. As the community migrated off of that listserv and onto forums and Facebook groups, he's become one of the old guys of the group, though not quite as cranky as the ones who took him under their wing.
I found an old chunk of American chestnut in an old house that had fallen down, and got on that forum and say, hey, anybody wants American chestnut to make some reel seats out of? And wind up shipping that stuff all over to people that wanted it. Just like, give me the shipping and I'll send you the wood and stuff. So
he says it's partly out of self-preservation. The more bamboo fly rod makers there are in the world, the more motivation there will be for folks to continue importing Tonkin cane from the other side of the planet. But talking to Lee, you get the sense that that isn't the only reason he wants to pass down what he knows. For one thing, he's just a natural-born teacher. When I tagged along as he fished the Elk River last fall, I told him I just wanted to observe, but he couldn't help himself.
So the casting motion is the same thing as throwing a baseball, essentially.
I didn't even have a rod, and yet I got a beginner's class in fly casting.
People get a fly rod, and the first thing they want to do is they want to do this. And you wouldn't throw a baseball like that. You throw a baseball like that, so the motion is just exactly the same as throwing a baseball.
Lee also shares what he knows because he wants to preserve what his old school rods represent. A link to a time when you put your catch in a wicker creel instead of a Yeti cooler. A time before sportsmen traded in their fedoras for baseball caps and their canvas canoes for fiberglass bass boats.
If I just wanted to go catch fish, I would go fish a carbon rod and I'd fish live bait and I would catch more fish.
All that stuff is readily available at any well-stocked Walmart. And it's fairly cheap. It would work just fine.
But there's a lot of things that work just fine that just kind of lack a little bit of soul to them.
For Inside Appalachia, I'm Zach Harold in Charleston, West Virginia.
If you want to see Lior's fishing rods, you can check out a video about them on the new episode of Mountainthology, West Virginia Public Broadcasting's television show. You can find it on our website, wvpublic.org. People have long trapped animals for their hides. In North America, Europeans swapped iron tools, cookware, and whiskey for animal skins. The pelts were part of a lucrative business that lasted well into the latter part of last century. In fact, trapping was one of Appalachia's first industries. These days, fur trappers struggle to earn a living. The fashion industry has largely turned away from fur. Still, some trappers in West Virginia have adapted or found new careers using their particular skills. A few years back, Folkways reporter Lauren Griffin brought us this story.
Every March, fur trappers and buyers gather in Glenville, West Virginia for the annual West Virginia Trappers Association fur auction. Raccoons, coyotes, bobcats, and other animal hides are on display. Excited trappers catch up with each other, waiting for the bidding to start.
Buying the whole lot. 20 now, 30 now. So I'm Jeremiah Whitlatch. I'm the West Virginia Trappers Association president.
This is Whitlatch's first year as president, but trapping has always been a big part of his life.
I got into this because my great-grandpa, my grandpa, and my great-uncle all trapped. I remember going to their farm in Wirt County, and Grandpa would be sitting there on his stool skinning foxes.
The size of the trapping community shrinks with each year. When fur prices were high in the 1980s, the association hosted multiple auctions in a year. Now there's only one.
This is a fraction of what the fur sales normally like. Usually there's been years where we've got 5,000 coons piled up back here.
The price of untanned or green fur has been dropping steadily as public opinion and markets have turned away from fur products.
It's all supply and demand, really.
The market might be erratic, but that doesn't keep the diehard trappers away. To trapper Austin Stutler, the auction is a yearly event where he connects with his community and celebrates the successes of the past year.
The fur auction at Glenville is one of my favorite days of the year. It's such a big deal to me and my family that all of my buddies will go up there. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday thing.
In his early 20s, Stutler is one of the younger trappers at the auction. He's been trapping since he was a kid.
Well, I'm the owner of Windy Ridge Trapper. We're a small fur buying and trapping supply wholesale company that was founded in Wirt County, West Virginia.
Stutler recently inherited the business from his father. At Windy Ridge, they specialize in water trapping. Water trapping targets fur bearers like beavers, muskrats, and minks. Right now, beaver's in demand. That's partly because sales for cowboy hats have gone up with the rising popularity of the hit Western TV show Yellowstone. To get a nice felt cowboy hat, you're gonna need beaver fur. But there are uses beyond the fur, too.
Literally, the only part of a beaver we don't use is the bones. The skull, I've got a guy that I sell the skull to. All of the meat we turn into bait that we resell. The castoreum, the castor glands we use in the bait that we make. What is the purpose of killing anything if you're not going to try to use every last bit of it that you can?
Anyone can learn to trap, but it takes a lot of patience. The law states trappers must check their set traps daily. They also might be dealing with some challenging conditions.
Beaver trapping is one of the easiest forms of trapping that there is if you have a boat and if you're a little bit touched. Because beaver trapping, you're almost always going to fall in, you're going to get wet, and someone's going to end up about freezing to death.
It's a mild March day, and Austin Stutler and his father, Jason Stutler, are out on their boat on the Ohio River. They're checking on the beaver traps they'd set the day before. The traps dangle down into the water from the edge of the bank. Austin reaches in and pulls up a trap.
You ready? Oh, something came loose. Yeah, we got it. Yeah, good deal. It's a small one, but we got one.
Trapping an animal is only half the process. Given the low economic yields after trapping and processing a hide, some trappers have had to think of new ways to apply their skills to make a living. Mike Gray is a fur trapper that has repurposed his skills for a job in residential wildlife removal. He's been trapping since he was a kid, too.
And a lot of times people would ask me as a kid, Mike, can you box trap this for me? And my gosh, I was out there at 14 years old trapping raccoons and groundhogs.
Gray has a museum-worthy collection of traps and knows the best kinds of snares and footholds to use for the different fur bearers. He shows me how to set a land trap. The trap is staked into the earth, leaving the pressure plate exposed but slightly camouflaged.
Trappers are gadget people. We're always figuring out different ways to do stuff and different ways to make sets, and there's not a trapper anywhere that probably doesn't have a dozen different digging tools when you only need one.
Gray doesn't fur trap much anymore, but he uses his skills to remove animals from homes. He says that in urban areas like Morgantown, West Virginia, his skills are in demand.
The influx of people from D.C. and different places coming in, some of those folks have, where with a squirrel, you see a raccoon, but it's a whole lot different when it's in the walls of your house.
He's translated his fur trapping skills into a career that protects people.
The animal capture is only half of it. I mean, if you can't make that individual feel safe in their house, you really haven't done your job.
When he was a kid, Gray had to teach himself how to trap. So these days, he serves as the education co-chair with the Trappers Association. He helps teach young trappers the skills of the trade.
You can be anything and be a trapper. It's not for everybody. If you are extremely tender-hearted, it probably wouldn't be what you'd want to do. Something does die in it. But a lot of us made money when we were kids that way.
Gray isn't fur trapping much these days, but he looks forward to the auction like everyone else. It brings together trappers, young and old, year after year. Some members of the younger generation, like Austin Stutler, are a little worried. Is their dedication enough to keep trapping viable?
I do have a genuine fear that whenever I am in my 50s or 60s, that there will not be as many of us. But the reason that it's not going to go away, for most of us, this is not a hobby. This is who we are.
$2.50 a piece on coon rods to buyer number 4.
For Inside Appalachia, I'm Lauren Griffin.
Our next story takes us to maple syrup country. Highland County, Virginia, and its neighboring counties in West Virginia are some of the southernmost areas in the U.S. where you can make maple syrup. Making maple syrup has become tradition in these communities, but producers are experimenting, both out of curiosity and out of necessity. In 2023, Folkways reporter Clara Hazlett visited the Allegheny Highlands and had this.
In late winter in Highland County, maple syrup production is a visible part of the landscape. There are maple trees everywhere, adorned with metal buckets and laced with blue tubing. There's wood smoke rising from the sugar houses. There's a maple sugar road and a sugar holler and a sugar tree country store.
This is the sugar water. Look how clear it is.
Pat Lowry and his wife Valerie operate a sugar camp in Highland County called Back Creek Farms. Like many in the area, Pat's family has been making maple syrup here for generations.
I was born down the road about 3/4 of a mile. Every farm had a sugar shack And it wasn't mainly for syrup, it was mainly for sugar.
Pat started helping his dad with their maple production when he was 8 years old. Valerie says he has maple syrup in his veins.
And he would make syrup 365 days a year if he could.
Each March, Pat and Valerie take part in the annual Maple Festival, where different sugar camps demonstrate the process of making syrup.
Did you know this is what comes out of the tree? Have you seen sugar water before?
Throughout the county, people make and sell all things maple, from maple donuts to maple barbecue. The festival's been a staple for over 60 years in Highland County, and the tradition of making syrup here started well before that. But over the years, practices have evolved as people like Pat and Valerie apply new ideas and techniques to production.
We're trying to break the traditions a little bit.
People kept asking, what do you have that's new? Nobody had anything that was new. It was, light syrup, medium syrup, dark syrup.
So they started experimenting. They aged syrup in whiskey barrels and infused the pure maple syrup with natural flavors like elderberry. At this year's Maple Festival, Pat's boiling down sap, or around here what they call sugar water, while Valerie offers samples to visitors.
Now we are going to do chili pepper and ginger. You all are going to try the hickory syrup. And hickory is made from the bark of a hickory tree. You'll get this next. So it's made from the bark of
Gary Mongold of Petersburg, West Virginia, has been going to the Highland County Maple Festival since he was a kid.
What pulls the people to Highland County Maple Festival was the donuts. I don't know if you found a donut trailer up there or not, but the line is humongous.
The line was humongous. But this year, Gary didn't make it to the festival. He's busy with his own operation. It's his second year of making black walnut syrup.
I can take you up to here and show you a little better.
Gary's showing me around his sugar grove in his side-by-side. His property is full of walnuts, situated along a steep hillside that opens out to a panorama view of Petersburg, Moorfield, and Mount Storm.
All these trees down under here's got tubing to them. Then tubing runs all down here and makes a loop and goes down that holler and catches all these walnut trees back in here.
The process borrows the basic principles of maple sugaring. You drill a hole, tap a tree, and out comes the sugar water. Gary pumps the sap down the hill using an old dairy pump. When it's boiled down, it transforms into a dark syrup.
I can't describe it. It's awesome, I think. A little sweeter, but it leaves a better taste in your mouth. And I eat a bowl of ice cream pretty near every night with about 2 tablespoons on it. I just dearly love it. If I don't watch, I'll eat my profits up.
Black walnut syrup is an emerging industry, and Gary's one of just a handful of producers in the region. He's been working with Future Generations University out of Franklin, West Virginia, to conduct research on the process. They're trying to figure out the best techniques for production. You see, walnut trees don't produce as much sap as maples, and the sap has less sugar. In short, it takes more to make less. And unlike maple, walnut sap contains naturally occurring pectin, which, when it's boiled down, becomes a thick goo, making the syrup difficult to filter. But Gary's undeterred by these challenges, and he's even found a creative use for the pectin.
About a year ago, I listened to 89.5 PBS here in Petersburg, and they was talking about the Mayo Clinic working with pectin for arthritis and gout.
Gary's had both. So ever since, he's been taking a teaspoon of walnut pectin in his morning coffee. While pectin isn't FDA approved for this purpose, Gary says it's relieved pain from his arthritis.
It's been helping me.
Using the pectin, like making the syrup itself, is an experiment. And this season, there's been another variable shaking things up.
It hasn't been a very good season for sap to run. Mother Nature has not given us very good weather.
Last year, Gary got about 17 gallons of syrup. This year, he added even more taps, but the season's almost over, and so far, he's only gotten 5 gallons.
I'm 63 years old. This is the first year that I remember hardly no snow. We haven't yet to have much snow at all. We ain't even had enough to plow the roads here.
In order for the sap to run, you need to have freezing nights and temperatures above freezing during the day.
But when we get these climate change like we're having and get a 70-degree day, 3 70-degree days in February, that just put a stop to everything.
So water must have boiled.
Back in Highland County, Virginia, temperatures in February averaged nearly 40 degrees Fahrenheit, making it the second warmest February on record. Here's Pat Lowry from Back Creek Farms.
Honestly, in my 71 years, I have never seen a February like this.
Even the more conventional maple syrup producers were forced to adapt, like Doug Puffenbarger and his wife Terry.
It's been 4 or 5 generations of Puffenbargers, back from the 1700s.
They're not interested in making different tree syrups or trying out infusions.
We don't want to do that. We just want the real deal, and that's what we're doing.
But this year, the warm February dried up production mid-season. So when a cold snap hit in March, right around the Maple Festival, her husband decided to try something different. He retapped his maple trees, drilling new holes in hopes of collecting fresh sap.
He's never done that before. With the warm temperatures in February, the climate's changing, and that might be a new thing we're going to do.
Gary ended up retapping his walnut trees too. He got 5 more gallons of syrup, bringing his total for this year up to 10 gallons. And although it's significantly less than last year, he's optimistic.
It is kind of risky, I reckon. It's fairly good money when you start selling your product, but I don't look for every year to be bad. There's going to be a lot of good years.
And Gary's already thinking about next year. Around this area, tree sap generally runs from the end of January through the end of March. But Gary thinks that pattern might be changing.
We're going to try something. It's going to be new, and we're going to try tapping the first week of December.
And in Highland County, there's talk of switching the March Maple Festival to earlier in the season, too, when there's a higher likelihood of cold nights, warm days, and sugar water on the boil. For Inside Appalachia, I'm Clara Hazlett.
Last summer, producer Bill Lynch traveled to Hillbilly Hot Dogs in Lesage, West Virginia. It's a local institution and a tourist attraction. In 2024, the hot dog stand's signature menu item suddenly became unavailable, but the homewrecker has now returned. Bill went to the hot dog stand to take the homewrecker challenge, eating the 3-pound hot dog in less than 12 minutes.
It was the middle of the week at Hillbilly Hot Dogs in Lesage, about 10 miles north of Huntington. People were lined up outside waiting to get lunch inside and get out of the summer heat. Hillbilly Hot Dogs is more than a typical West Virginia hot dog stand. It's a bona fide roadside attraction. The lot is an eccentric collection of rustic-looking buildings covered in graffiti, repurposed school buses, and reclaimed junk, poking fun at hillbilly stereotypes. The restaurant has tables inside and out, but also offers dining on the roof, which is a good place for a quirky first date if it's not too hot. There's also a wedding chapel out back if things turn serious. Reservations for lunch are not required, but probably call ahead if you're thinking about booking a wedding. Sonny and Sherry Knight opened Hillbilly Hot Dogs in 1999.
Sonny and I were sitting out underneath a tree. This old house up here on the hill, Sonny was one of 11 children. And we were sitting out under the tree, and I said, honey, why don't you just plow that land over there and build me a weenie stand? And the 12 by 16 building was built with him and his brothers and brothers-in-law. And I soon learned that in order for them to build, I had to keep a pickup truck right in front of the place and a couple cases of beer. And then they just worked till the sun was coming up the next day. It was nonstop. But if you took away the truck or you took away the beer, nobody worked. We opened September 6th of 99 and closed 3 days later and got married. And everyone thought for sure these two nuts, me and Sonny, were both from California, when it's just me that is, because who opens a business and 3 days later closes it to get married? We did. We did.
The place expanded as it went, adding buildings, buses, and a variety of specialty hot dogs. Hillbilly Hot Dog is included on various travel lists and was featured on Guy Fieri's diners, drive-ins, and dives. Sonny passed away in 2021. Since then, it's just been Sherry overseeing the restaurant with a lot of help. The menu at Hillbilly Hot Dogs has expanded since it opened, mostly through trial and error. The menu currently lists over 25 specialty hot dogs, but I wasn't there for any of that. I'd come for the homewrecker. The home wrecker is a deep-fried 1-pound all-beef hot dog. That's like an entire package of hot dogs.
Sonny wanted something that nobody else had. So we went to our food packing company and he said, 15-inch all beef. And Buddy Logan looked at us and said, it's a novelty. No, it's not going to last. And I turned around as Sonny was walking out the door, and I looked at Buddy Logan and I said, you gave us 3 months. Make the dog for him. Just do it. Just make it. So he came into the store and he had a frozen prototype, threw it down the table, it was frozen, and it just kind of bounced. And my brother was standing there and he went, now there's a home wrecker. And right there, we got the name.
With toppings, a table of 3 or 4 could probably share the hot dog, but Sonny wanted something to attract a particular kind of diner. One with something to prove. The Knights put the word out. They wanted to see how fast someone could eat a home wrecker.
So one guy, David Franke, he was a student at Marshall, and he did it in 12 minutes. And we knew, okay, we got our set time, because it took him everything he had to do 12 minutes. So now from there, we've gone down to the 2 minutes and 34 seconds. I think it's 32. So 2:32 is, I think, what it is now. Yeah.
There isn't really a strategy to getting that much food down. But the kitchen manager, Cecilia Cottle, said having a cup of water doesn't hurt. I thought I'd try my luck and my stomach against the home wrecker. Waitress Katie Thacker counted me down.
All right, so you get 12 minutes or less to eat the whole thing, and if you do so, you get a free t-shirt and post it on the Facebook page. If you beat the record of 2 minutes and 34 seconds, which, Cake, you got it, you get the whole thing refunded back to you. The thing is, you don't have to lick the plate clean, but you can't leave any chunks of tomatoes or jalapenos. You also can't share with your friends, throw it out the window, or tuck it in your boots for later, okay? It's just the rules. All right, any comments, questions, concerns? Nope. All righty, I'm going to count down from 3 and give you a big old yee-haw. 3, 2, 1, yee-haw!
And like that, I was off. I had a cup of water and a plastic knife. I used the knife to cut off pieces of the giant hot dogs so they'd fit in my mouth. The dog was as big around as the handle of a broom, and it was piping hot. The water came in handy. I started off at a good pace. I was hungry and hadn't eaten much all day. I slowed down. But I finished.
I'm never doing that again.
Hey, but you did it. Hey, you even licked the plate clean. Did you know about how much time you had left?
You said out loud 2:45.
2:45?
The store record was safe, but I still got a t-shirt and bragging rights.
I was gonna say, I was looking forward to lunch, but something about watching you eat a home wrecker is like, now I'm full, you know what I mean?
The home wrecker has been part of Hillbilly Hot Dogs for 20 years, but it almost came to an end last summer when Sherry's weenie supplier went out of business. Who makes a 1-pound hot dog?
I really didn't know what to do. And I turned to a very good friend of mine by the name of Guy Fieri, and I said, I don't know what to do. I'm lost. And so he said, I got you. That's all he said, I got you. And the next thing I know, I had chefs from all over calling me, going, give me specs, give me information, do you have any left on hand, which we did. So they had those to look at, go from, and we ended up with Vienna beef, and they've done a phenomenal job.
Sherry said that after Fieri visited Hillbilly Hot Dogs in 2007, he stayed in touch.
And he's always just been my good friend, yeah. When my husband died, he called. He called me quite a few times just to make sure I was okay. Yeah, his heart is in the right place. He's a beautiful man.
And Fieri helped her get a really decent hot dog. I was proud of my home wrecker t-shirt, but you probably shouldn't do something like that more than once. But looking at the Hillbilly Hot Dogs menu, below the original home wrecker, there's something called the Widowmaker. It's a 2-pound weenie with 4 pounds of toppings. I wonder how fast somebody could finish that thing. For West Virginia Public Broadcasting, I'm Bill Lynch in Lesage.
You can watch a video of Bill's attempt at the Home Wrecker Challenge. It's on our website, wvpublic.org. While you can find a baseball field in most communities, some diamonds are rarer than others. Like a miracle field, a baseball facility that can accommodate players with disabilities. WPLN's Cynthia Abrams reports that these fields are a growing trend across the country.
On a Saturday afternoon at McKnight Park in Murfreesboro, Tennessee,
there's a lot of Little League games going on. But one field is quite a bit livelier than the rest.
Starting for the Orioles, number 9.
That's because baseball at the Miracle Field isn't just a game. It's an event.
We try to make it like a major league experience for them.
That's Tam Clark, Murfreesboro's Miracle Field announcer.
They've got their picture on the big board. We give them their own walk-up music. They get to choose. We get to announce them like they are the stars of the show.
Some players dance before getting up to bat. There's a second inning stretch where mascot Homer mingles with the players on the field. And there's a lot of home runs. In some ways, it feels more like a party than the sometimes overly competitive spirit of youth sports. That's because Miracle League's origins center on inclusivity.
It kind of all started with a sibling that was in a wheelchair that would sit and watch through the fence. His sibling played t-ball. He came to every practice and every game. And finally, one day, the coach decided that he would love to invite this child on the field to play.
That's Stephanie Davis, the vice president of Miracle League's national programming.
But we quickly realized that the venue was still, not going to work for any child in a wheelchair or with any walking device.
Miracle League partners with parks and rec departments, YMCAs, or other nonprofits to construct the rubberized turf fields that can accommodate wheelchairs or assistive devices. And what started as one accessible baseball diamond in Georgia soon spread to hundreds of fields across the country. The leagues also employ a buddy system that pairs the players with a volunteer. It's a system that, Davis says, forges an important relationship.
That barrier just took 2 seconds to break down when you get on the field and you just realize they're just, normal kids. They like the same things we do. They just may have a few other obstacles.
It's a place where kids want to be. But Angie Keating, the league coordinator in Murfreesboro, says it's equally as important for parents.
One of my biggest goals is to get a mama up in the stands to eat popcorn and have a Coke for 1 hour. Just 1 hour. She's not paying a therapist. She's not taking them to school and wondering what they're doing. She's sitting there watching her kid play ball.
Players aren't always kids. Murfreesboro has 2 leagues, one for ages 5 through 14 and one for anyone ages 15 and up. People with disabilities often lose access points to community when they age out of school. So inclusion of adults is a key component of Miracle League, Keating says.
They're not aging out of their disability.
Jaden Pearson is one of those adults. He says baseball is his favorite sport.
Baseball was there for me. It was perfect.
On this Saturday, he selected Starships as his walk-up song, but every week it's different. Each game holds many surprises for every player. But in Murfreesboro, they all end the same, with a home run and a tie score. For the Appalachia Mid-South Newsroom, I'm Cynthia Abrams.
Miracle fields can be found around Appalachia. Till next time, thanks for joining us as we journey throughout Appalachia. Our theme music is by Matt Jackford. Other music this week was provided by Hello June, Tim Bing, Tim and Dave Bing, Joe Dobbs and the 1937 Flood, Dinosaur Burps, and John Ingram. Bill Lynch is our producer. Abby Neff is our associate producer. Our executive producer is Eric Douglas. Kelly Libby is our editor. Our audio mixer is Patrick Stevens. We had help this week from Folkways editors Chris Julin, Nicole Musgrave, and Jennifer Gorin. Special thanks to our guest editors this week, Whitney Henry Lester and Amy Badula. You can find us on Instagram @InAppalachia. You can also send us an email to insideappalachia@wvpublic.org. Visit wvpublic.org/InsideAppalachia to subscribe to our newsletter and stream all of our stories. Or look for Inside Appalachia on your favorite podcast app. Inside Appalachia is a production of West Virginia Public Broadcasting.